Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of Sublimation graphics and tutorials on YouTube and Facebook. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any of our tutorials. This is another edition of 20-minute sublimation designs, which is something that you can create for your business to sell digitally or on a physical good in 20 minutes or less. We're going to be using some different clip art elements and fonts from my favorite resource site, Creative Fabrica, today. If you don't have a Creative Fabrica membership, you can sign up for just $1 using the link in the video description. Also keep in mind that there are daily, weekly, and all the time freebies available on the site. So if a membership isn't within your budget, you definitely have some options there of free fonts, free clip art elements, even free designs that you can use for your business. We're going to be working in Affinity Designer today. Affinity Designer is our preferred software and it is relatively user-friendly. Now, if you are new to Affinity Designer or want to learn everything there is to know how to use all these different tools and even how to create your own clip art elements, then be sure to check out the Affinity Designer Digital Graphic Design Masterclass for Sublimation. This is our 100-hour in-depth video course that's perfect for beginners. You don't need to know anything to get started. It is built in a progressive style that ensures your comprehension and retention of the skills. It ensures your success through our course. It includes interactive design challenges with opportunities to win prizes, as well as one-on-one email support throughout the course. It is learn at your own schedule on your own time, and you can find that link in the video description below as well. Be sure to use the code SUBTHAT to save $30. Now I'm using Affinity Designer on a Windows computer, and also my layout has already been set for me how I would like it. So keep in mind that some of these panels might just be located down here for you, but you should be able to see everything easy enough to navigate. I'm going to be working on a design that I sort of intend to be square-like so that I could use it on a waffle towel or maybe a coffee mug, a throw pillow, really anything of that nature with fall in mind. So we will start by coming to File and New and opening up a new document. Anytime I plan to make something that can go on a throw pillow in particular, I always size it 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels. This is a little bit bigger than the minimum, but throw pillows are usually like 18, 20 inches. So this ensures that it will look great at that size and also can easily be shrunk down for smaller objects like coffee mugs or waffle towels. We want to make sure that our DPI is set to a minimum of 300. For sublimation, our color format should be RGB/8, and our color profile should be sRGB IEC 61966-2.1. Now, this is the most current color profile for this color format, but if you are using a Mac, some people with Macs do better with the Adobe RGB 1998. I just want to start mentioning that in videos because there are some color discrepancy issues with Mac computers, and that is the resolution. I don't need any margins, so I'm just going to deselect that and then click Create. Now I do have this set up with a transparent background. That's normally my default, but since I'm going to be working with a gray pumpkin today, I actually want to come to Document Setup again and deselect transparent background just while I'm making it. Before I export it, I will recheck that transparent background, but this will just make it easier to see the elements that we are working with. I'm going to start by importing my main focal element, which is a pumpkin. I've downloaded some different watercolor pumpkins and leaves from Creative Fabrica that are going to work for this aesthetic, this farmhouse pumpkin aesthetic that's really trendy right now, has been trendy for several years and probably isn't going anywhere, and is going to be just a lovely twist on something that will easily be able to be printed and used for all of your fall decor needs. We can start by selecting our Place Image tool, this little picture icon. And let's see. I downloaded this white pumpkin set because white pumpkins are really like what's in. It's pastel pumpkins in general are what is really popular right now. I want one that has kind of a bigger body, and also I really love the little like sort of twisted looking stem. So I'm going to grab this guy right here and select open. And then I'm going to click and drag to resize this. Now we can see there's a lot of dead space around this clip art, and that makes it a little bit annoying when I'm trying to resize. So we will come and select our vector crop tool. And I'm just going to bring in those boundary lines as close to the pumpkin as I can without cutting any of the pumpkin off. Perfect. And then return to my move tool and continue to resize this. When we have a lot of negative space and we're trying to resize, we end up like having to drag off of our canvas, and it's just annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and get that centered on my workspace. I always like to start with things centered. To me, it's just my thing. Not everyone loves that approach, but I do. When we see our red and green access lines, that's how we know that we are centered. If you don't see those lines, you can make sure that you have this magnet icon selected and click that little drop down arrow and make sure all of these are check marked. Do not check mark the first one that says show snapping candidates, just the rest of them. Also, if you just want to automatically adjust it without having to try and get those snapping guides, because they only activate when you are right on the line. So if you move too fast, you'll miss them. You can just click on your alignment panel and you can choose align center, and click apply. So the first thing I noticed about this pumpkin is it's not really gray. Like this is supposed to be white gray pumpkins, but this one is more like a cream with some orange tints. So I'm going to want to start by color correcting that because I want my pumpkin to be gray. I will right click on that layer and select rasterize. And then I'm going to come to the pixel persona and choose my selection brush tool. This is the one that has the little dotted lines underneath it. We want to make sure we're set to add, have snap to edges selected, and soft edges selected. I've got a pretty big nozzle size there. You can of course adjust it here. I think the big one will be good because I can just carefully pass over and it's going to snap right to those edges. Ooh, we went a little too into the stem, so let's try that again. There we go. I don't want the stem, I just want the pumpkin itself. Next, I'm going to come down to this half moon circle. This is our adjustments panel. And when we select this, we can choose different adjustments that will apply just to the pumpkin itself. So I'm going to start by selecting the black and white adjustment, and almost immediately it's giving me the color that I want, so that is perfect. Because this layer has been rasterized, we can then select merge to merge that right in. I don't see any reason to make any adjustments to that in terms of the RGB or the CMYK and stuff that was on that panel. Now I'm also going to select the adjustments panel again, and I want to choose brightness and contrast and just see if I can try and amplify some of our colors a little bit more. We don't want to go too bright because we're always keeping in mind that sublimation doesn't print white. So we have to really rely on the shading and things like that that we create to give anything any type of definition. So I'm just playing around with my contrast here, seeing if I can sort of darken things, but not too much. So I am going to decrease my brightness to, I've got it at negative 16%, and I've got my contrast right at about 6%. So once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and select merge. Now I'm going to come to select and choose deselect, and I'm going to decrease the size of my nozzle, and I just want to do these two outer pieces. See how they look like really dark gray? We want to lighten those ones up separate from the middle pieces. So you can use the bracket keys, the ones that look like sideways staples, on your keyboard to easily increase and decrease your nozzle size. And now I'm just going to select those two outer slices. Make sure I get all the way up into the points. That one went pretty well, but this one I need to come in with a smaller nozzle. Perfect. And next we're going to click on that adjustments panel again. And let's see. Let's grab that brightness. There we go. So we're just evening out our pumpkin tone, but we still want to make sure that we've got our little bit of shading in those little slices there so that everything just looks a bit more cohesive. So you can go ahead and select merge once again, just to merge all of that in. Now we can come to select and deselect to see where we're at. Our pumpkin is looking pretty good. Anytime I use a light colored pumpkin like this, like a really soft gray, not necessarily a pumpkin, but really any type of element, I like to have that white background so I can get a good idea for how this is going to show up when it's printed. Keep in mind that light grays, like really soft grays like this, do tend to print a little bit darker when you print them with sublimation. That's just one of those things. Getting this incredibly soft gray is not easy for most printers that don't have white. So we just want to keep that in mind, but also having a white background helps give me the look that I'm going for, or gives me an idea of the look that's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the designer persona. That's our little blue square, so we can access our vector tools. Now I want to add some different fall leaves in here, and I like to just arrange some behind our pumpkin and also in front. The ones that behind are going to help amplify this edge so that it doesn't get lost on our substrate when we actually print it. So this is just kind of a little trick in designing that's good to keep in mind when you're using anything that's a really soft color. So we'll select our place image tool again, and I'm going to come up to this watercolor leaves, and let's just grab a couple. I really like those. I like that guy. That one's pretty good. And we'll grab that one as well. I want to make sure I got some good color variances in here. So once we have them all selected, we'll click open, and I'm just going to click and drag them in place over top of each other so they're all on my document, and then I can move them around. All right. So I'm going to do one of these nice big leaves in the back. So let's just rotate that, kind of move it into position, and then I will grab it in my layers panel, click on the icon, and hold my cursor down and drag it so it's behind my pumpkin. You want to make sure you see that full width rectangle. See the full width rectangle? We don't want it to be in or anything like that. See, then it's going to clip inside. That's not what we want. We want the full rectangle so that it will be below it. So here's that one in place, and let's see, let's get this guy in place too. I'm going to make this one pretty big. And same thing, just going to drag it below in my layers panel. Let's see what else we got. All right, I think this one will look good too. Drag that one below. All right, I'm kind of running out of document space at the moment, so my default is to actually resize my document if something like this happens. I just find that that way I'm not losing too much of my design space. So I'll come up to Document, choose Dimensions, and come to the width section, which is the first, and I'm just going to set this to, let's do 6,000. We can always shrink it back down or whatever. Always make sure you have anchor to page selected as well. That way you don't accidentally resize all your elements as well. Okay. Looks like we're actually gonna have to make it a little bit bigger or shrink everything down, but let's get the rest of our leaves in place first. Let's make this big one here. Put that behind our pumpkin as well. Oops, that was inside of our pumpkin. And the only thing I want to do is switch these two because I don't want the colors to clash. So we'll put that one there, and we'll bring this one up over here. Perfect. Now I do want some down in front, so let's see, I'm going to put that guy like that. And this one I'll make a little bit smaller. And just sort of overlay them. Always keep in mind that as you're like moving your elements around, something that is on top in the layers panel is going to be in front of, and something that is behind in the layers panel is, or below in the layers panel is going to be behind. Now I can click and drag to select all of these and just sort of get things moved around a little bit on my canvas so that we're a bit more centered and we don't have anything off the edge. All right, I'm not really loving the stem here. I kind of feel like it's in the way. So I'm going to right click and rasterize that leaf. And I think I want one more fall leaf here. So let's take, this red one. I'm going to right click and duplicate. I'm going to bring it above my pumpkin and I'm just going to bring it over here. And I kind of want it to be like down like that. Actually, I think I'll swap these two, put that one there, and put the green one like that. Yes, okay. I want to get rid of the stems on both of these though. So I'm going to right click and rasterize the red leaf as well. Next, we'll come back over to our pixel persona, just very briefly. We want to select our eraser right here, the erase brush tool. And then where it says basic under your brushes tab, you're just going to select this nice round brush. And with that first leaf selected, we'll go ahead and just erase that. And go all the way up. Actually, I don't know if I like it all the way up, but we'll kind of go maybe about there on that one. And then grab our other one, and this one I am going to go all the way up just because of the orientation of this particular leaf. That one is all right with a little bit of a stem. All right, now I did see in another pumpkin set, so I just clicked that place image tool again, that there was a nice vine touch right there. All of these assets are linked in the video description as well, so I'm going to just click and drag to resize that, and I'm going to place it so that it looks like it's part of my pumpkin. Make it nice and big. Love it. I am noticing that these green vines are maybe just a little bit too soft. So I'm going to apply an adjustment to them. So I have that layer selected. We're going to select that half moon icon, the adjustments. I am going to choose brightness and contrast. I'm going to decrease the brightness just a little bit, increase the contrast some, and go ahead and exit out of that. I didn't hit merge on this one because this is not a pixel layer. If it doesn't say pixel next to it, the merge function doesn't work. But you can also just leave it just like that. That's a non-destructive option. So that is perfect. I love it. Now this pumpkin layout is ready to go. You could use this as is. You could choose to add a monogram letters in the middle of this, make a whole alphabet, which is fantastic because people love monogram stuff. I'm here to tell you that the monogram sets that I sell on my website are one of the most popular things that I have. That's why I put them out for all different types of holiday themes and seasons, because they are so incredibly popular. They are perfect for door hangers, doormats, kitchen towels, coffee mugs, like basically anything people would personalize. You could also just add a cute little fall quote on this, you know, happy fall, y'all. Hey there, pumpkin. Fall is a sign that change is beautiful. There's like tons of fall quotes. One of my favorites is, but I think I love fall most of all. So I'm going to put, but I think. Selected my artistic text tool there. I want the artistic text tool, not the frame text tool. Highlighted my text. I'm going to come up here, and I love using a typewriter font for like all things fall. I don't know why typewriter font works so well with fall, but I love it. Let's kind of center it. I think that'll work. And let's click that artistic text tool again. Click and drag to size our cursor. I love fall. And I want to do just a font that'll work with this. That's a script font. So I've got, this is called font pairing, and using the right kind of script font with a font like a typewriter font is always a good move. I'm going to use Camstay. This is hands down one of my favorite fonts lately. And I am going to center that as well. And I like having a little bit of overlap. That's just like an aesthetic that I really enjoy. I'm going to just increase that up, move it up just a little bit. And I'm going to right click and duplicate that but I think in my layers panel and then just drag one below because I want to make sure that the font is the same size and the font's already the same. Minimize a few steps here. And this will say most of all, but I think I love fall most of all. This is a cute little fall quote. Once again, getting that centered. Now have a look at my text. I think my spacing looks good. I'm going to select all three of those and right click and group. And then I'm just going to get it a little bit more centered so I'm totally satisfied with its placement. I would really like it to be behind these two leaves here, so I'm just going to click and drag it down below those two. Now it also dragged below my vine, which I didn't want, so what I'm going to do is just drag the vine down below the text. So all we're doing is just shifting things around. Let's see, next I want to come to effects and I'm going to check outer glow. And I'm going to increase this radius all the way up so that it doesn't really look like there's a glow. It's just going to be just subtle enough to help it pop off of the pumpkin and pop off of those vines without being really obvious. You can, of course, also adjust the color of your glow as necessary. Since this pumpkin is gray, I don't really need to adjust it, but if this pumpkin was orange, then I probably would adjust the glow to be orange as well, just so that it blended a little bit better. Lastly, I think that the black is a little bit too much for my text color, so let's come over into my oranges. Sort of look like a burnt orange brown color. There we go. That screams fall. I love it. This would be beautiful on a pillow, a waffle towel. I'm just going to decrease the size of my text group just a little bit. Okay, now I'm satisfied. This is ready to be exported and also saved. So the first thing that I want to do is go to Document Setup and I want to recheck Transparent Background underneath that color tab. Click OK because we don't want to export with a white background. We want transparent. Next, I'm going to click and drag to select all of those elements and right click and group. Now you can check and see if you have a bunch of unnecessary dead space. We don't really, there's a little bit at the top here, but it's kind of going to be there regardless. If you're really particular, you could choose to document setup and adjust that height, maybe a couple hundred pixels. For something like this, I normally don't fuss about it. I just like to make sure that my whole design is centered well in my document. So there is that. To save this document so you can come back and play around with these layers, you want to go to File and Save As, just like you do in every other program and software that you use. We'll call this Fall Most of All White Pumpkin. I always name my design files _design file. That's just me. You can name yours however you would like. And then to export the PNG of this so that we can use it for our different projects, we're going to come to File and Export. Make sure we have PNG selected, whole document, and click Export. And there we have it. There is your 20-minute sublimation design. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. We played around with some adjustments and really made a couple of different clip art packs and 2 fonts work for us. So all of the links for what I used today are in the video description. If you give it a try, please be sure to share and sub that. And don't forget that you can sign up for Creative Fabrica for just $1 with the link that's below. And also, if you want to learn everything there is to know about Affinity Designer, come check out the Affinity Designer Masterclass for Sublimation. I promise you, you can do anything you can imagine with the software. It's amazing. And our masterclass will help you get there. Use the code SUBTHAT to save $30. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great rest of your day.